Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another of my In Conversations. And once again, I'm joined by a very good friend to the channel, one of the nicest people in Ripperology, and one of the most knowledgeable, Steve Blomer. Hello, Steve. How are you?
Hi, Richard. I'm great, thank you. How are you?
I'm not bad at all. I'm not bad at all. And we're going to discuss today the current state of Ripperology. So I must confess, I've been not following it too closely in recent months, but it's always fascinating to see where it's going. And there have been quite a few leaps forward this year. Quite a few things have hit the headlines, some good, some bad. So, shall we begin? What is the current state of Ripperology, Steve?
It's not too bad. The first thing I will bring up is we've got a big move towards AI generated content being produced, particularly on Facebook. It's not so bad when it's labeled as it, and if it's used in photographs to clarify photographs, but it's being used just to produce images that bear no relation to reality, and we're seeing more and more written posts and essays almost, which are entirely AI generated. You can tell from the language that's been used, and the same mistakes being made over and over again. And there are pluses, there are uses for AI. You've used it yourself in some of your things.
I have indeed.
It's very handy for giving witness statements and stuff when we, when we to actually put them into context. But what we're seeing is people producing images which are based on their own imagination, and we're seeing essays that have been written based entirely on imagination and AI. And AI often gets it wrong. And sadly, if we don't take a firm hold on this, it's going to take over. Now, a lot of the groups, we are taking a firm hold.
Yes, so I've noticed it a lot on the Jack the Ripper page that you are admin on. I've also noticed images of Bucks Row and little films coming up. But I tell you where I've noticed it a lot this week is to do with Ozzy Osbourne and Ozzy Osbourne's funeral. The number of photographs I've seen coming up showing like Elton John carrying Ozzy Osbourne's coffin and Paul McCartney carrying the coffin, or Elton John sitting with him on the hospital. And you just know that that's not how it happened. So it really is. I think this year we have seen the advent of AI, and I think it's going off in directions that are, in some ways, very worrying because it's misleading people.
Yes, I mean the what I see, what concerns me is I won't name names, but some people who have been in the community for a long time who have suddenly decided that AI is the way forward on everything, and they're just producing. Well, what they're doing, they're producing um,
Mm,
documents
yeah.
in which they're having a full blown conversation with AI as if it's a person, and that's quite concerning. I mean, it's very concerning. But as I said before, we have cracked down on it on some of the groups. We're looking for it to be proper content. We don't want anything that's been written extensively by AI. And when it's photographs or film, we're letting some through where they're useful. But you know yourself, one of the big problems when trying to do a police uniform is that most AI insists on giving you a New York policeman from the 1890s rather than a British Bobby. And we've had that several times. Some people have gone away and done some of the images you talked about of Bucks Row. There was one where it was okay, but it had Essex Wolf completely wrong. I spoke to the producer of the thing, and he admitted it, and he went back and he did it right, and he thanked me for pointing out the inaccuracies in how Essex Wolf was being portrayed, and we've got a much better image now. So there are good bits of it, but people have got to put the effort in. That's the point. It's too easy, I think, just to assume AI will get it right first time. I think that's the problem. And I think there are people also who don't know anything about the subject who are just using AI and are thinking that AI is telling them the absolute established facts and the truth, when of course it's not, because we don't know the truth and the facts.
No, and of course AI is a tool, and I think the problem with it now is it's not being used as a tool. It's been used as as a creative entity to actually save you having to create or write your own stuff.
Exactly. Exactly. People are talking as if You know, yeah. What we're seeing is people producing images and stuff and saying, AI produced this, aren't I good? And you think, not really. All you've done, you've taken a mortuary photograph of one of the victims and got it to change it into a real life photo. That's not particularly good. Or they've taken a press sketch, lots of the press sketches, and had AI colour them and fill them out a bit. And then they're saying, isn't this fantastic? And you're thinking, not really. But each to their own, I suppose. I hate to sound pessimistic about it, but I think there's a possibility we could go so far that we can't tell the truth from invention.
Yeah, I mean, where what I've enjoyed doing, and I've done it a few times, is using it to recreate witness statements. Sort of create a witness and then use AI to make that witness talk.
Yes, I mean that I think is a perfectly I think that's a perfectly legitimate use for it. Um, Everyone's going to know it's AI, and of course you also say it's AI as well before you start somewhere in the thing, and then there's not a problem. I think the real problem is not so much the images. The problem is when people start producing essays which have been written exclusively by AI, and they're so obviously written by AI. But a lot of people who are new to the subject are going to think this is someone who really knows the subject, when it's not. That's one of the problems.
One of the other aspects of it, and one that's becoming more and more apparent, is actually creating entire videos with AI. You just feed it in, and AI creates the video for you. And I was watching one the other day. It was on Victor. There's a sequence of videos where they interview people from the past, and they were interviewing people in Victorian London, and it was interesting. The accents, I mean, they weren't East End accents. They'd obviously just been voices that had been created. But one of the most interesting ones was there was a chap being interviewed in a shop, and they were talking about the state of the workhouse or something like that. And in the background, a Porsche goes past in the shop window, and or outside the shop window. And I thought, yeah, that's quite interesting. But you'd think, as someone who's producing content, you would have spotted that at the edit stage and thought, hang on, that's a car in the background.
I think the issue here is that there's more and more people producing content, some of whom haven't got that much knowledge of the subject. And really, they found this brand new toy called AI, and they're using it because it gives impressive results, and they don't realize it's showing mistakes. I think that's one of the issues.
And of course, the thing with essays as well is it's pulled the information from other people's websites, or other people's work. So it's pulling information from the World Wide Web, from the internet, and of course, it's pulling it from somewhere. So it's actually effectively taking people's work and producing it in those little snippets at the top, that or to produce essays for people. I think when we talk about AI, though, Steve, I mean, AI is here to stay. It's not going anywhere,
Yeah,
and it is going to improve. Well, it's not going to go out. And when I say improve, I think it's fantastic at the moment. But I think it's how you use it. You've using it for educational purposes, using it, but using it to do stuff for you. The whole creative process goes. Why not use it as a creative tool, as part of your toolbox? To me, that's a good thing to do. Whereas actually having AI do the whole thing for you is, it just.
yeah, I agree absolutely. There is a place for it. It can be, on you have photographs where you might not have the Photoshop skills to take certain objects out of um, an image convincingly. AI can do that for you automatically with no effort at all. And that then it is good because sometimes you might want to show a street scene uh, with no cars in it or something to give an impression of how things were. And to do that normally requires a high level of skill with Photoshop or an equivalent software program. Not everyone's got those levels of skill. But it's quite handy if you've got AI you can use and say, please remove that car. And it will find the car for you and take it out. And it will then put in the background, a suitable background to match it up. So, yes, there are uses for it. It's just how people use it. That's the problem. I mean, we've really had to crack down on all the groups basically about how AI is used, because we were getting completely flooded out with photograph after photograph after photograph. And we've had to crack down really quite hard on it. Otherwise, it doesn't serve any purpose.
No. Well, it's going to be worse now because of there's that period where the images of the victims were circulating as this is an image of Mary Nichols or this is an image of Mary Kelly in life. Now, it's probably an image of a Mary Nichols, but it's not the Mary Nichols, not the Mary Kelly. But sooner or later, they then start circulating. I was involved with a TV program, and they put all those victims' images in. And I was doing the historical advising, and I went through and I said, these aren't the victims. These aren't. There's only one known photograph of a victim in life, and that's the Annie Chapman wedding photograph. I said, all the others, you're talking about that. They might be a Elizabeth Stride, a Mary Nichols, a Mary Kelly, but it's not the ones in the story. But of course, this is what happens. Those circulate online, and pretty soon they're turning up as these are the victims, and nobody questions it.
I know it's been going on for years, unfortunately. The worst thing we saw with the AI addition to that is we were suddenly given these victims smiling faces and moving eyes and mouths, which was completely inappropriate. And all of those got removed, I think, from every group I can think of on Facebook immediately. Fortunately, we don't get any of that on stuff like Casebook and JTR forums. Different audience, different type of postings.
I think the sad thing is that those who use it well and those who use it responsibly are going to get drowned out by the tsunami of people using it badly.
Yeah, well, that's what we've done. I mean, when we get images that are posted that are obviously AI ones, depending on what they're actually of and who they're by as well. There are some people who we know are serious contributors, and we're more likely to let them post an AI thing as long as they put in some content besides just a photograph. That's one of the problems, that often there's no content. It's just a photograph that is published, an image that's put up with the words of AI has produced this. Sometimes it doesn't even say it's AI. Sometimes it just gives the impression I've produced this. And so that's one of the issues. That's one of the issues I've got at present. That's probably the bad one at present.
But I think, as I say, it's here to stay. So I think that the secret is we've got to use it in a responsible way, and and I think it's one of those things that people who do that sort of thing will get fed up of it sooner or later. And when they get fed up of it, then it'll be left to people who will use it responsibly. Because I think, for example, in medicine, uh, diagnostics, I think AI is going to be fantastic in that respect because it's going to bring so much to medicine.
Yeah, agreed. Yep, and you're likely to have a more standardized response in medicine. You get a more standardized response rather than relying on individual interpretations.
Yeah, and it's not going to get tired. It's not going to be at the end of a 12-hour shift and think and make a mistake because it's going to. So I think yeah, but I think like with everything in life, you can use it, but just because you can use it doesn't mean you have to use it.
Okay, so next thing, we've had a few books out this year, and we've got a few books still to come. We had a Pro Lechmere book out by well-known contributor to things, Mr. Neil Norman, a few months back. Um, I won't make any comments about the book, but it doesn't seem to have caught the public imagination, shall we say. Um, I feel sorry for Neil because he's obviously put a lot of effort into it, but we're not seeing much comment about it on any of the boards at all. Maybe this is just a change that people aren't buying as many books and aren't commenting on them. I don't know. Well, later on this year, hopefully for conference, we got the book by Susie Huntington on the torsos out. This is a labour of love she's worked on for 5 or 6 years. Having seen the finished draft, it's, in my view, a very good book, and hopefully it will clear up a lot of misunderstandings about the torsos. And then you've got Jonathan Tye having his book on Edward Buckley out later this year. I think that's in November. You interviewed him, of course, a couple of years ago when he first put out the theory.
I did.
and he's worked really hard on that book.
I'll put a link to that book, to that interview in the description down below.
Yeah, and it's all going really well. I mean, everything is going well on the book front. There's not as many books as there were in the past, but I don't think we're getting quite as many really bad books, which is the good bit. Books we're getting tend to be better books. There's another anti-Lechmere book which has just gone up on Amazon that I'm aware of. I believe it's electronic only. I haven't read it yet, so I've got no idea what it's like.
Who's that by?
Ian Hope.
Okay, yes, yeah.
Yeah, he posts on the group. So he's done which extensive. It's a definite anti-Lechmere book rather than a Lechmere didn't do Bucks Row. It's Lechmere didn't do any of them. It's clear and it's honest. I mean, I saw an early draft, but I haven't seen the finalised version yet. So hopefully that will all go okay. But again, it'd be interesting if we do get feedback back from anyone other than the pro-Lechmere people. I expect the pro-Lechmere people to say things about it. It'd be nice to get feedback from others who aren't on the pro-Lechmere camp. But again, I'm just concerned that we're not getting much feedback on books at present. They're not. It's not like it was 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah, I did notice a trend on Amazon that a lot of people were sort of publishing books, self-publishing books that had obviously been written by AI. That was a trend, and and you certainly do start to see more adverts for it now, don't you? That this will create a novel before lunchtime or something like that.
Yeah. Well, we do try and check it when books are released on Amazon. There's a few of us who do get in there and check them out. I'm normally checking to make sure that the books that these little books on there are not rip-offs and scams of other people's work, which we had for quite some time on Amazon, with people taking somebody else's work, putting a new cover on the front, putting a new name on the cover, but it still had the original name inside the book. And people were taking money for this. And sometimes it wasn't even the full book. Sometimes it was only half a book, and it was a bad photocopy. And but that seems to have dropped off recently. But don't seem to have as many of them. About 2.5 years ago, that seemed to be a very popular thing that was going on. We haven't had that. Myself, I'm slowly working on my Mitre Square book, which hopefully will be out by next Christmas. That's Christmas 2026.
Okay,
Only about 5 years behind schedule.
part of the course, Steve. Part of the course.
And I am hoping still, yeah, and I am hoping still that we will get a physical limited edition version of Inside Bucks Row out sometime next year, and that will be if it does come, it will be based on the next update, which is due out in October, November of this year. So hopefully it will be based on that. But it's just so much to go in. You think you finished it, and then something new crops up. There's always new research coming in all the time. We've had quite a few bits of new research this year on JTR forums, very few specifically about the murder, but about side issues and side characters and relations of witnesses. So it's not the groundbreaking research people really looking for. There's lots of research going on JTR forums and on Facebook as well, I think.
Has there been anything this year on new documents being unearthed or new things being found? Apart from the shawl.
Uh, Nothing that comes to mind specifically. Yeah, nothing that comes to mind specifically. Lots of little things in the background. I know some people are still doing work on the Kosminski stroke dot reports to talk about Kosminski chasing after a woman in the street. I gather there's more research going on that, but that's what I just know. No, it's happening. As we know, the consensus view is that that's probably a fake, but new research could prove that different. So we just have to sit back until the new research comes out. We can all have our own views on how likely it is.
This, of course, this is the problem at the moment, isn't it? Because of the internet now and social media, you can put something out there that's completely spurious, and it gets picked up. If it goes viral, then it's gone it's gone halfway around the world before, and everyone's believing it. I mean, I, I hate to go back to it again because we have discussed it before, but I think the shawl is a classic example of that. I mean, what came out earlier this year was nothing new.
Yes.
It was the same old book from 2014 with the evidence removed from it. And so it was actually a lesser book because they didn't even present the evidence that they brought for it. And I think I saw that a new version's out that's £125 now.
I'd seen that as well. Whether that's a real version or a spoof, I'm not sure. But I had seen a comment about it. It was being presented as a deluxe edition. I'm not quite sure how deluxe you can make it unless you're prepared to put the actual research in there. They put the actual research documents in. Yeah, that would be interesting. But of course, they told as I understand it, they told the Journal of Forensic Science that they couldn't reproduce it because they'd lost all the original
Yeah, they'd lost the data.
samples and data. Yeah, yeah, that was what they said. But we've had it. So what we had the new book launched last October. We then had a whole load of stuff on the internet through until January. It then went quiet for a couple of months. We then had another bout of it in April, May, and June, of lots of people commenting on the stuff. And it's gone quiet again recently until we got that thing about a deluxe book last week.
Yeah. Has anything else happened? Because what I recall a few months ago, there was a lot of talk about reopening the inquest into Katherine Edos' his death. Has anything further happened with that, or?
Not that I've heard, and I don't see how you can reopen an inquest. We haven't got the witnesses to do it, and
Yeah,
I'm not saying his evidence is incorrect because that would be wrong for me to say, but it's been shown to be flawed evidence, which he cannot repeat.
yeah. And what would be interesting about that now is that it's changed. The law's changed with regard to inquests since 1888 and now, because nowadays an inquest cannot suggest that someone's guilty. So you can't do that with an inquest now.
Which is what he wanted to have done. He wanted to go back and he wanted to have an inquest under 1888 law, basically.
Yeah, that would have been quite interesting to see if that could be done. Because then an inquest is there to decide what was the cause of death, and we know what the cause of Catherine Edo's death was.
Yeah. The cause of death, the rough time of death, and all of those are already established. No, I don't think I haven't heard any updates on that. Possibly there's something in the new edition, but I haven't heard anything at all. I do tend to keep my ear close to the price.
I've ordered 3 copies for Christmas presents. I've got one for your Christmas present, Steve, this year. I thought you'd be delighted.
Thank you. Yeah, I've got the original, and I've got the original in hardback in storage, and I've got the original rewritten update second edition. I think it was on Kindle, and I've got the new version on Kindle as well. So that's the one that was released last year.
Yeah, I mean that's got be one of the few books that d- doesn't advance its case because the first edition presents the evidence, and then it's taken out, and then the evidence is taken out of later editions, and you're just told, "Trust us, we found this," but they don't give the evidence about finding it.
Well, yeah. What can one say, Richard? Really, what can one say?
Again, this I think plays into the one thing I always say about well, not just ripperology, but anything is do your own research. Go back to source documents because all this has been based on a PR campaign. That's it. It's not it's not a historical campaign. There's no documentation being provided. There's no evidence being provided. It's all done on people thanks to programs on TV, have come to believe that DNA is the panacea. It can find it's all solved by DNA, and we saw that when we did it in our video last time, the quick Q&A session. A number of people came back, "Oh, DNA's proved it. DNA's proved it," and they obviously don't understand. If you say to them, "What's DNA proved?" and they go, "Well, they proved who it was."
And they obviously didn't. And obviously, people didn't really listen to what we were saying because we were saying that the DNA hadn't proven it because the scientists who'd peer reviewed it had questioned it, and now the magazine itself had questioned it.
And I think the other interesting thing about it was that when they said, "Oh, DNA, DNA's proved it. DNA's proved it," I think the really interesting thing about what people were commenting on was that they obviously didn't understand even what the argument was in the book, because the number of people who still state, and these people who believe the DNA evidence, still state that the shawl would belong to Katherine Edos. And of course, that's not what Russell Edwards claims in the book.
No, he did. I think he did originally, very originally, before the book was actually produced. He was saying that. I think, but I could be wrong. But from the first edition onwards, he is saying the shawl belongs to Aaron Kosminski. The reason being, of course, that the claim is that the pattern on that is a Russian pattern, Eastern European, and therefore it's a Kosminski family heirloom. That's the claim, basically. So I don't think I think in the very early days when he was researching it, he may have wondered if it was Catherine's thing. But in his books, he very clearly says that it's Aaron's. So as you say, people just aren't really reading it properly.
No, people. I mean, basically, as an author, it means people aren't reading the book.
Yeah, I think a lot of it. I think a lot of the people who have commented have just read all the newspaper stories that appeared last year, and those newspaper stories were often very, very inaccurate. I mean, and to be fair to Russell Edwards, when he produced the images, he made it clear they weren't images of Aaron Kosminski. They were um, not AI as such, because it was more like old-fashioned Photoshop work being involved in it. Yet you still get people saying that's an image of Aaron Kosminski. I've seen it in the book, and you think, oh, you know, people just don't read because the press presented that as being an image of Aaron Kosminski. That's the point. That's the point I'm making there.
And I think people just want the easy. But there's an old book. There's an old marketing book called "Don't Make Me Think," and I think that's exactly what's happening at the moment. People don't want to think about stuff. They just want the easy, quick fix. Oh yeah, it's been solved. Let's move on to the next thing now.
Well, I think that's very symptomatic of Ripperology at the moment as well. A lot of people want the short, concise answers they get on Facebook rather than in-depth explanation of stuff. Or they want to watch, and we see it all the time, don't we? People don't want to read a book. They want to watch a 20-minute YouTube video which tells them all the facts, despite sometimes those not being the facts. That's been written by somebody, produced by somebody who doesn't know the facts. They've copied another video they've seen. I do wish more people would read some background to it. And I have to say, that doesn't apply, of course, to your channel here or to the House of Lechmere channel either. Those are all very well produced and they're all researched.
So that's the shawl dealt with then. So one thing that's quite interesting, one thing I'm finding very interesting at the moment, and I'm enjoying doing a lot of, is the British Newspaper Archive, the BNA. They're bringing out lots more newspapers. Lots more newspapers have actually entered the collection. Yeah, and it's quite interesting to get different takes on it.
Yeah, so I've heard. I haven't got an active subscription at present because I didn't need one at the moment. But I will be taking one out in the new year to finish off the Mitre Square book. Now, I'd already downloaded a lot of stuff previously. I'm also going to obviously be looking at any new stuff that's been published relating to Bucks Row as well. So I'm looking forward to hours and hours of downloading and reading in the future. But I'm told there's some really nice new stuff in there. Some of my friends like Jonathan Ty and others have been really catching up on the new research on there, and it's all looking really interesting. So that's good. This is the point. People keep asking, is there going to be any new discoveries? And yes, there is, because there's all new papers. There's papers still being printed. There's still a load of newspaper editions we don't have copies of. It'd be nice if we did have those copies, and perhaps one day they will turn up.
Yeah, as I say, because the one thing that isn't on there that I would love to be on there is the Star. Because it would be interesting to see the various editions of the Star.
I was going to say the same. The Star. I would love to have that that non-existent edition. Yeah, well, I would love the non-existent edition which carries the story about the two men in Bucks Row and one of them going and finding PC Neil. I'd love to find the original of that. I really would. I'd also love to find an original copy of Lloyd's Weekly from the Saturday publication. It was published on a Saturday morning and it was distributed outside of London. I'd love to have a copy of that and see what that included for the Bucks Row, in regards to the Bucks Row murder. I'd love to see that, but apparently it doesn't exist. I've searched high and low and I can't find it. I've checked with all the researchers I know who spent hours in the British Newspaper Archive, and nobody's got copies of either of those two, unfortunately.
So, do you think uh, any more police papers are going to come out? Any more police documentation? Or
Lots of them were destroyed. Lots of them were destroyed. Fortunately, there are copies of lots of the pages on the internet. As to whether anything else comes out, yeah, I think there's a great chance that something could turn up because things get misfiled. Something gets put into the wrong file, not intentionally, but by mistake. We all know things get misfiled all the time. So I think there's a good chance that a document could turn up. What sort of document? Perhaps we might get a copy of the interview with of a police interview with, say, Charles Lechmere, or we might get a copy of an interview of who the police interviewed following the Batty Street incident with the blood-soaked shirt. We're told people were spoken to, but we don't know who. It'd be nice if that file turned up because who it was actually spoken to. There's also some talk, isn't there, that possibly the police did speak to people after the Berners Street incident. May have spoken to a couple of individuals, but we don't know who those individuals were. Was that broad-shouldered man and pipe man, or was it pipe man and somebody else, or was it completely different individuals? We're told that the police did speak to people, but it's only stories in the press. There's no official comments about stuff. It'd be nice if those turned up. It would help us a lot, I think, in progressing. So I'm still hopeful stuff will turn up, but I think it's going to turn up more by accident than anything else. Someone's going to be looking for something else, and then they're going to find it. We know lots of police documents disappeared up until the 1970s, basically. Now, some of those were returned. It's possible there's others sitting somewhere which might be returned at some stage if the people who look at them after the original owner has passed on, I would suggest, realise the relevance of them. Otherwise, they're likely just to be junked, unfortunately.
of course, that brings us back to the AI problem. That how long before we start getting documents, not just photographs, but actually police documents being reproduced by AI?
Fake documents, yeah, I think it's quite likely. One would hope that no serious researchers would actually stoop that low. I don't think I know anyone who would stoop that low to produce an artificial document who I consider to be a serious researcher.
Yeah. I think the sad thing now, though, Steve, is that serious researchers can get outnumbered by unserious researchers who just want it's clickbait.
Yeah, we're seeing it more and more, aren't we? I don't know if you've noticed it's not just on one Facebook group, but it's on a load of Facebook groups with people making statements. There are no experts. Everyone's view is equal. This, of course, is not just a trend in ripperology. It's a trend in all history and science that there are no experts. Everyone's view is equal. The doctor on Google is as good as a real doctor. It's that attitude, and unfortunately, it's creeping in more and more in today's society. And I don't see what we can do about it. We just have to accept it. I think, really.
This happened with the shawl, didn't it? That all the actual experts who understood DNA and could explain it, they were completely ignored by the newspapers. And several of them, I understand, did try to contact the newspapers and news channels and say, "Look, that's wrong. You've got that wrong."
Yep. And the newspapers weren't interested because it doesn't sell. Simple as that.
They just wanted that clickbait headline: "Jack the Ripper caught by DNA." So let's go to the area then, because the areas in the last, what shall we say, the last 10 years, maybe 12 years, the area where the murder has changed completely. Having been doing the tours around the area since 1982, I'm astonished. There's places I thought, oh, well, they'll be there forevermore. They won't go. But the change that you see in the area now, Mitre Square's changed. Uh, Durwood Street, Bucks Row, that's changed completely. Now you've got the exit from Whitechapel Station. Dorset Street, well, obviously that had changed, but the car park, which, you could at least get an idea of Dorset Street by going down that service road, that's all a modern office block now. Just a complete change in the area that's taken place.
I haven't been back since the East End Conference last October. So I'm looking forward to going back this October to see how much has changed in the year. And I'm sure there will be a lot of changes. There was talk, wasn't there, a year ago about knocking down everything on the corner of Commercial and knocking down all of the blocks that were there, the old blocks there, and putting new stuff in. I don't know if that's pro- progressed at all any further.
I haven't seen nothing seems to have happened round there. I was there a couple of weeks back, and nothing seems to have happened round there at the moment.
Have they removed the Stillan Star yet, or is it still there?
Last time I was there was, I think it was in April, and it was still there, but it was all boarded up, and it looked like it was getting close to going. So I got some nice footage of it. So because my big regret is that I didn't think to take photographs. I mean, I've got some old film footage of a tour from 1988, and coming from when I used to start at Tower Hill, and it's a tour. It takes us through Mitre Square. It takes us past Gunthorpe Street, not Gunthorpe Street, sorry, Goulston Street. Shows the Happy Days fish and chip shop is there, but the whole of the block is derelict. It's got the corner of Gunthorpe Street where it was old warehousing, and then we go down to Bucks Row as you approach that. What was the board school, which is now flats. It's completely derelict, and you've got that big open space beyond it, where you've got the flats now. That was Bucks Row.
Oh yeah, I mean, I regret that because I was there in 1985 and never thought to take any photographs. What a shame! It's been great to have had those photographs myself, rather than having to rely on other people as I do now. But we have got some good photographs in the last edition of Inside Bucks Row. We had some nice photos I'd not seen before, actually taken from the window that would have been Perkis's window looking down on the murder site. Now, that was taken back in the 80s or 70s, I think, and that's quite an achievement considering that the building was knocked down soon afterwards.
That's my big regret that I'm taking lots of photos now, but because the thing in the past was it was so expensive to take photographs.
Yeah. Whereas now you just do it on your mobile phone now and it doesn't cost anything at all. It's so It's so much easier. I mean, I've got reams of photographs now that I'd done for the Mitre Square book that I'm going to have to go back and redo now this year and next year because they're out of date. They don't show the area as it is now.
Yeah, the other problem I have is I take so many photographs that often I can't find the photograph I'm looking for, and it ends up being quicker to actually go and retake it because I can just jump on the tube and get in there than actually ploughing through thousands of photographs.
Well, I actually used I've got an article coming out in the next edition of Ripperologist, and we can discuss Ripperologist in a minute or two. But I've got an article coming out on that. In the last edition, I did all the roads to Mitre Square, all the roads from Mitre Square, and now I'm doing the roads to Mitre Square, which involves the possible escape routes from Berners Street. Now, I got photographs of some of these possible escapes from Berners Street, but it's changed even in the 6 years. So I got a guy who's very prominent on Facebook at present, who I get on well with, to go and take the photos for me. It was a pleasure to get him to do that for me. Um, because there's an exit just up from where Fanny Mortimer was via Batty Gardens, which goes through the back. Then there was Saunders Street up at the top, which goes through where the car park is now. And people don't realise there were those exit routes on Berners Street. Because if you look at it now, they don't exist. They went a long time ago. So I had to get a friend of mine called Chris to take some photographs for me recently so that I can get them ready for this article, which I need to get done by the end of this month.
And speaking of articles, we were going to discuss Ripperologist because you're now in charge of Ripperologist.
No, not in charge. I'm one of the team. It's still Jonathan Menges in charge. He's the editor in chief. I'm just one of the underlings who help out. My role is basically to go looking for articles from other people and to write a few articles myself. As you're aware, Ripperologists had basically gone into a period where there'd been nothing published for about 2.5 years, I think it is. And we rescued it just over 2 years ago. No, just coming up to 2 years ago now. And we weren't sure if we were going to get it to survive, and it has, and it seems to be growing and going from strength to strength, basically. We've got a good team working on there. I'm just part of that team. Jonathan Menges is the man in charge. He's the driving force.
Okay. And if people did want to subscribe, how would they go about subscribing to it?
You go to ripperologist.co.uk, I think it is the website, and you just click on the link and enter your email address. And then you will get sent copies every time it comes out. At the moment, we're producing two editions every year. So one edition is coming out in October, stroke November, depending on exactly when we get things done. And the other one comes out 6 months afterwards. So the other one's sort of like April time comes out. We're just doing 2 editions a year at present. That's it. And we're working well.
So that's ripperologist.co.uk.
Yes. Yeah. You just log on to the page. You go onto the page, and there's a bit where you can subscribe, another bit where you can download back copies as well. So, and it doesn't cost. The thing to say is it's completely free. It doesn't cost anything. We've still kept it so that there's no charge.
Well, I think we've covered an interesting topics, everything from AI to books to Ripperologist magazine, documentation. So I think, Steve, we're going to do a Q&A session soon as well, aren't we? So we'll get a Q&A session underway. But apart from that, I think it's been a fascinating discussion, Steve. It probably won't be the sort of discussion where people will be going, wow, I never knew that. But I think we've tackled a few things. Why don't people let us know in the comments below what they think of AI and what they think of documentation and stuff?
Exactly. I'd love to know what people think of AI. I mean, we've got our opinions, but we might be completely out of kilter with everyone else. We never know.
So let us know in the comments down below. Steve, it's been great to talk to you again, and have a great remainder of the day, and thank you so much.
And you, Richard, you take care.
And you as well.